Great. All right, you guys. Well, thanks for joining me on the live this afternoon on Saturday. I just wanted to come talk to you guys a little bit and do a little marketing minute, as it were. And I've got something I want to talk about today because earlier in the week last week I started one of my brand new podcast. It's Online Sales Funnel Academy over on anchor.fm. It's anchor.fm if you're interested. I'll drop a link in the live stream down below. And one of the topics I talked about last week is what I'm calling the understanding the 1%, okay, when it comes to your marketing. So as you guys know on my channel here, I'm a digital marketer. I was not always a digital marketer. I actually came to digital marketing by way of being in a brick and mortar business that fell out from underneath me. And when it did in 2013, I had literally no assets in my little toolbox. I had no real way to know how to get a new customer. I did not know how to properly network. I didn't know how, I barely had built my own website at the time that I accidentally had deleted after 24 hours straight of building it on GoDaddy, and I had to rebuild it. But that was about the extent of that was the first time I'd really been introduced to tech, and I had no idea how to get in front of my future customers or other clients. So I was in a service-based business. I used to own a medical billing company in 2013. So for us, we had to get in front of other physicians and doctors, medical providers, and usually within the Seattle area, but not necessarily, because we had it set up where we could do remote. But it was really devastating because we didn't have a way to get in front, or we didn't know how to market. I didn't know how to do a webinar. I didn't know how to run an ad. Facebook had been out for a couple of years because at the time in 2013, Facebook was just starting to evolve and kind of come into its own, and they didn't even develop the ads platform, I think, until 2015. So even at that point, I still would not have been necessarily safe, as it were, but even if I had the skills, because it wasn't a thing yet. It was just being rolled out. But you fast forward now to 7 years into this, so I'm really excited. I feel like I've got my master's level degree in marketing now. I work for a very well-renowned digital marketing firm here locally. I work for Dominate Web Media. I work for Keith Krantz. He is the author of the #1 best-selling book in the category on Amazon. I'd have to show you his book. It's over on the bookshelf there. It's The Ultimate Guide to Facebook Advertising, volumes. He co-wrote 1, 2, and 3, and he's working on volume 4. And so what we talk a lot about inside the agency with him, when I'm working for him, he's always talking about being able to build audiences and being able to serve your ads to your audiences. Okay, but if you're brand new to marketing, I want to just take it back a step, because I know we talk a lot, like we just make a lot of assumptions, like you guys already know what we're talking about. And sometimes I feel like we just need to dial it back. And my goal on this channel is really to focus and target the absolute beginner who is maybe selling on Etsy or Shopify or some other channel like that, and maybe you've got some physical product or something. So I'm focusing on physical product, but this would work for services as well. And it's just understanding what the algorithms have to offer you as a marketer, and knowing that what you can work with that's available to you as a marketer. Okay, so that was a lot. So let me try and break it down in my own head. So again, I titled this live stream "Understanding the 1%." So Facebook has a rule or whatever you want to call it, but if you're gonna market on their platform, let's say you've got a very simple image and you've got a couple lines of text, and you have a link that goes off to your product on, let's just say Etsy for ease of me explaining this. So you get to choose different types of objectives inside of Facebook on how you want to run this ad, okay? And one of them is called impressions. And Facebook has a rule that they will charge you, or a guideline, they will charge, like if you choose to be charged per impression, they will charge you per, they call it 1M. And M is like Roman numeral, so that means 1,000. Okay, so if I remember correctly, it's like $1 per 1,000 impressions. Okay, so what that means to you is that you can literally take your single image or video with some text going off to your Etsy, and you can run a minimum of $1 a day on your ad, and you can go inside of the ads manager and you can literally tell Facebook, hey, I want to now let's make a real example here. Now I always talk about my glass blower a lot, and I wanted to kind of break it up today and do a little bit kind of a different kind of product. Okay, so there's a lot of like handmade signs over on Etsy. Okay, so it's like a really cute one. So let's say that you're someone who's got hand painted signs, and it said, you know, love your corgi. Okay, a corgi is a kind of a dog, a small little dog. They're kind of funny shaped, and they're just kind of cute and awkward. And by the way, there's a lot of corgis in Seattle. It's kind of like the unofficial home of corgis for some reason. I used to work at Amazon. They're all over Amazon down there. It's hilarious. So let's say, so you are the person who makes these signs, and you paint on them, and you love your corgi, and they're 8x10 or whatever. And when someone makes a sale on Etsy, then you ship it to them. Okay, let's say that's your model. So if I were going to build an ad for you, here's how I would guide you to do that. First, I would ask you if you already knew, more about your demographic. Like, who are the people who are the corgi owners? Are they millennials? Are they middle-aged? And if you don't know that information, that's okay, because we don't need to have it per se, but it'd be nice to have that information. So when we go into the Facebook ad, when I build it, you can literally say, what are the people's likes or interests? I mean, the interests, behaviors, or demographics. So if they're interested, the first interest layer I would do is dogs. Okay, and then what you can do is you're allowed to target further down and narrow it down. So it's like what they call an if-and statement. So you can say someone who likes peanut butter and chocolate, or you can say someone who likes peanut butter but not chocolate, right? So you can slice your data. So if you know multiple things about, like multiple interest points about your users, you can use that slicing and try and get a more accurate audience to serve your ad to. So you would say people who like dogs who also like corgis. Now, some might argue, well, why wouldn't you just lead with corgi? Well, because more people like dogs who also like corgi, we would have to play with it, but to see which one is better. But I would do dogs first as the broad category, and then I would do corgi second. And then I would do, because I'm trying to get them to purchase, there's a third behavior that I put as a third level. It's called engaged shopper, and that means anybody who has purchased online in the last 7 days. Now, that is not necessarily a long-term play, but if you're running a really small budget, that's perfect to find out. Facebook's gonna go out and find people who like dogs and corgis who have purchased online. Now, if you don't care if they purchased online necessarily, because you could have 1,000 people in a bucket who meet that criteria, and maybe only 10 of them have purchased in the last 7 days, which I find unlikely, but okay. But you know what I'm saying? So that you can choose to use that third filter or not, but I typically always put that as a third filter when I'm running an e-com ad. But for long term, you want to make sure that you would take that out, and you're going to target the other 900. You'd want to remove that out. But if you're just coming out of the gate, those are the 3 filters I would do. And then I would also target anybody, let's just say it was USA specific. So I would set up for USA specific. Now, all of this takes about less than 10 minutes, okay? And you can literally put it on $1 a day minimum. That's the minimum on the platform. I also believe if you were to do this over on YouTube, it's $1, minimum $1 a day, and also for Pinterest and also for Etsy. So you could literally do the same type of thing on every platform, okay? So we've got the Facebook ad, you've got the layers in. Now, now you're ready to go and you turn it on. Now, because you're optimizing for impressions, an impression means the number of times that they're going to go show this ad in somebody's newsfeed, okay? It doesn't mean they're going to like it. It doesn't mean they're going to click on it. It doesn't mean they're going to purchase. But it means that you've agreed with Facebook that your ad is going to be shown to the people that it needs to be shown to, okay? So what they'll do is Facebook will wait and see when that user who meets those 3 criteria logs in to Facebook next, and then they will serve it to them on the platform, okay? So it'll come into their news feed. And so for $1 a day, you can get, you know, like a couple hundred, or even you could probably, I think it's I have a friend who's doing $1 a day, and he's getting, because it's 100 impressions, sorry the math here, 100 impressions per $1. What happens is, you know, he's getting, you know, 58 or 86 views a day, right? So it's not always, you don't always max out at 100. Sometimes it's less than that, and that's okay. If you're playing with the lower budgets, that's totally fine. So let me grab a drink. So, excuse me. So the title of this video is called Understanding the 1%. Okay. So now I'm going to transition and talk about what I mean as far as that's concerned. So the 1% is the idea. It's a statistical anomaly. It's really crazy. It's basically has to do with the law of numbers, you know, and if you were to get 100 people into a room at any given time, let's say you have 100 people at a party, and you would say, you know, who here is interested in buying my product? No matter what the product is, you would always get between 1 and 3% of people, excuse me, who would be interested in buying your product. Okay, now what's crazy is that when you're running ads on Facebook or Pinterest or Etsy or whichever platform you're on, we'll just use Facebook as the example. Let's say you're doing $5 a day and you're getting it in front of, you know, 5,000 people, or it's getting shown in front of 5,000 people, or whatever the math is on that. And almost inevitably, so there's 3 metrics. There's the impressions, which is the number of times it's shown. Then there's the unique reach, which is maybe it's shown, you know, 5,000 times, but the unique reach is only 3,500. That would mean that you've shown the same ad to people like 1.5 times. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's a frequency where you can adjust how many times people see your ad per day in the news feed. Okay, and that also affects whether or not people get sick of you or your brand, as it were, and then because pretty soon they're just going to ignore you, and you don't want that either. So what you do is you run these low dollar ads, typically, or, you know, $5 to $10 a day, whatever it is. And what you're going to find is, so you've got impressions, unique reach, right? And then you've got clicks. And what's really fascinating is the number of clicks. People who actually click on your ad to go see what your thing is all about. And what's fascinating is, due to what we call the law of numbers, called the laws of the universe, whatever you want to call it, the law of large numbers, statistical probability, 1 in 100 typically will click on your ad. And it's almost exactly 1% every single time. And so the biggest misconception when I'm talking to a small business owner, the mental floss that they need to get out of their head is that, you know, you get that bad garbage out, is they're so used to doing everything themselves in their shop. You know, they're used to, you know, hustling and networking and talking to people and doing things that, you know, they hire coworkers employees that can't do it right, so they do it for them. You know, they do all the work themselves. What they're not understanding is that even if you had some even a mediocre ad and you weren't really good at writing ads yet, which if you're a business owner, you're probably pretty good at it anyway, because that's what you do, is you sell things. And yes, there are some nuances you need to learn on Facebook and stuff like that, like how to speak and stuff. But for the most part, what I'm trying to say is you can be not very good and you're still going to get 1%. And it's not because of the work you did. It's because Facebook and its machine learning and its algorithm was able to identify the right people and go out there and find the right people to put the ad in front of. So as people start to click on your ad, maybe they give it a heart or a like, or they share it because they think it's valuable, it sends a signal back to the algorithm and says, hey, Joe Blow just liked this post, go find more people like Joe Blow that already meets that criteria. So what happens is the algorithm kind of goes crazy and it says, oh, we got a heart here, we got a like there, and all of a sudden it starts really, like they call it optimizing, where all of a sudden it starts really narrowing down. It finds the people for you. And so that's what I'm always talking about on this channel is like, as a small business owner, if you've never run ads or if you're just new to this, you need to understand, like, take a piece of celery right now, just snap it in half, okay? Because that's your old belief. We're just going to throw that away. You need to start understanding that, I use this analogy all the time. If I were to give you, let's say we want to get you to a destination, okay? And we're going to fly you, we're going to get you to across country. And I gave you an option and I said, okay, would you like a bicycle or a jet? And you're like, which one will get you there faster? And you say, well, Sonny, of course the jet will get me there faster. But then nobody would second guess, like, how does the jet work? Okay, so in this case, the jet is Facebook, okay? And you don't sit around and say, well, or maybe some people do, well, how does it work? And I need to interview the captain, and I don't trust the process, and I don't know, I don't know how the nuts and bolts are put together, and I haven't read the schematic, so I'm not going to do it. Like, you wouldn't do that, right? You would just get on the plane and know that it's going to get you to your destination, right? So this is just my bad analogy of you trusting the process and knowing that if you just put the ad up and run the $1, and even if you're halfway close on the interest, you'll start to, no guarantees, of course, but if you target the way I just said and, trust the process and let Facebook do what it's supposed to do, then you'll start seeing results of the 1%. Now, that 1% of people who click off, they're not necessarily going to purchase, but usually we find there's sometimes like a 1 in 5 or a 1 in 10 chance. So for every 10 people that click off, they're going to buy your product. So once you understand this rule of 1% of people who click off to your thing, you can start planning your budget and relying on it and knowing that if you spend X, you get Y, And that's what I wanted to really just impart to you guys today. I hope that made sense. And I just really I felt compelled to drop that knowledge today. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to like and subscribe my channel here, please, and click the bell for more notifications the next time I go live. Consider subscribing. And be sure to check out all the links down below in my description. I've got all sorts of good stuff. I've got links to some of my other stores, links to my all sorts of good things. So be sure to check it out. All right, you guys, I will see you on the next one. So take care.